Big thanks to Kamado Joe for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, I'm Pitmaster X. Welcome to a new episode. And finally, after a long time of waiting, it's time that we do this experiment. If you want to know all the details of what happened during the whole process of what's going on in this video today, you better check out the vlog. The link's down below. Over 2 months ago, I started this steak project, and imagine waiting for a steak that long. I don't know how about you, but that drives me insane. I walk by the dry aging cabinets looking at these beauties for such a long time. It kind of like screwed with my head. But what we're doing here is well worth it. It's a piece of science. We're gonna figure out today what is the best time you should dry age your steak for. So I got one that are dry aged for 9 weeks. I got one for 8 weeks, and I had the butcher come by every single week at the same day of the week and bring me a big giant piece. So a big shout out to my favorite butcher, Gert-Jan van der Horst, for bringing them by and helping us out with this amazing project. But why wait all that time for a couple of steaks? Well, in theory, dry aging your steaks makes them more tender by the fibers that's breaking down over time, and at the same time it makes them more flavorful because you're losing moisture out of the steak, condensing the flavors. At least that's the theory. So the one that's been in the longest should be the one that's most tender and most flavorful, whereas the one that's been in the shortest should be less tender and less flavorful, but maybe a little bit more juicy because you haven't lost the juices. And there's only one way to find out which one is perfect. The shortest one, the longest one, maybe the one in the middle? There's only one way to find out. Let's cut these up into steaks. So this is what my whole roast looked like. A 3-bone-in ribeye. These are pretty big, and they're intentionally pretty big because when they're dry aging, we gotta cut off the outside. It's called trimming. And what I'm attempting to do here is cut out a middle section, basically one single steak. But I find it quite difficult to get through the bones, and I know I need a bone saw, but I haven't got around purchasing one. On the second cut of beef, I decided to take off the bones. Then I trimmed off all of the dry aged parts and cut the roast into steaks. I did the same thing for the remaining roast, and I ended up with a whole lot of beautiful steaks. Now this is where things get exciting. I don't care what the outside looks like, I just want to see what the steaks look like. And we can clearly see a difference in dry aging. First, we got our oldest dry steak, the 9-week dry steak. And then the 8 weeks, 7 weeks, 6 weeks, and 5 weeks. If we just disregard the difference in marbling, but just look at the color, we can see that the oldest steak is the lightest steak. And then slowly it goes from light to darker. So the youngest steak is actually the darker steak. Which is pretty exciting because I thought when it's dried more and more, it would get darker. But it's actually the opposite. The other thing that I noticed when I was trimming is that the one that was older, I had to trim off a lot. There was much more waste. And the same thing goes for the 8 weeks dries. When we got to the 7th, the 6th, and the 5th, it was a lot better. Especially on the 5th, I didn't have to trim off a lot. And I was happy about that because I'm Dutch and it kind of hurts to trim off a lot of good meat. Now the thing that's left to do is discovering if they get more tender. Now we need to figure out if it's true that the longer you dry age your steak, the more tender it becomes. Fired up the Kamado Joe, and it's slowly getting up to temperature. I'm looking for smoking temperatures of around 120 degrees Celsius because we're gonna do a reverse sear on these steaks. And we're going to put in a thermometer. So I got my meter thermometer and I got actually 5 of them because we got 5 steaks to test. So I'm gonna stick these in dead center and I'm gonna use them to determine the temperature right in the core. And I gave each of them their own number so I can identify which steak it is. Now it's time to put the steaks on and I'm gonna place them over the slow roller with a fat cap towards the side so the hot air can rise up around the slow roller and around the steaks. Now I'm gonna let these cook until they reach a core temperature of 52 degrees Celsius. Once the steaks hit the core temperature of 52 degrees Celsius, I'm taking them off the grill and let them cool down for 10 minutes. To sear our steaks, we need to set up our kettle Joe for direct grilling. This means taking off the slow roller and lowering the lid. And of course, putting the grill grates in the lowest position. Now I'm gonna grill my steaks, moving them around to make sure that I build up the perfect crust. Steaks are done. 5 weeks old, 6 weeks old, 7 weeks old, 8 weeks, 9 weeks. What are we going to try first?
Have I ever seen that much ribeye on one cutting board? I don't think so. All right, 5 weeks in. 5 weeks in, where are we? What's going on with the steak?
Oh, it's firing up. This is a good steak. It's tender and it's juicy. Is it super beefy? No, it's not.
At this point, I'm thinking about the years before I worked here, when I ordered way too expensive dry aged steak in restaurants. It was like this. I'm not sure how long it was dry aged, but it was basically like this. And I think most common is 21 days or something. Something like this.
Moving on to 6 weeks dry aged. The thing that I noticed about the 6 weeks old, and it's just a little step up, a little bit more beefy flavor. That's it. Nothing else detected.
It's coming, especially in the fat, but it's there. There's something going on. I wouldn't say that much, but there's more.
Well, let's go for 7 weeks. A little bit more beefy, again.
Now you're getting to the point that you could sell it as a high cuisine dry aged steak and ask way too much money in a restaurant for it. Because this is proper dry aged flavor.
In 2 weeks difference, I'm just gonna say it's more beefy and the flavors are building up, but I'm not getting like a world of difference just yet.
We're going to 8 weeks. Would you order it in a restaurant if you see the name 8? That's weird. Like from the 5 to the 6, little amount of difference. From the 6 to the 7, you suddenly have a big step. But from the 7 to the 8, no, not that much actually.
All right, 9 weeks dry aged. Come on, there we go. Beautiful looking steak. This is so difficult. The first steak was awesome. The last steak is awesome. In between, it's just like you gotta do everything, but I don't care anymore. I don't care about these three. Because this was, when I tasted this first steak, I was like, wow, this is a nice steak. I like it.
Yeah.
But then I went around the clock and I came to the last steak and I liked it a lot. But I thought, well, you know, I like it, but is there really a big difference? And I thought, no, there's not really a big difference. Until I tasted the first one again. I thought like, whoa.
Yeah,
that was my whoa moment.
Yeah.
Where I thought like, no. But just by putting this in the cabinet, it's so much better than having that watered down steak. That experience of like...
That experience, exactly. And we see that a lot in the comments. We see a lot of comments like, okay, but guys, you should supposed to dry age it only for 4 weeks. That's the rule. But it's a business perspective. Because
that's the business
they're like fanatics that say, no, I can do 100 days. I don't freaking care.
Yeah. But I do feel that we need to extend the range. 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 11 weeks, 12 weeks, 13 weeks, 15 weeks, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. What's going to be the limit? What would you do if you were us?
Go further.
If you're boosting this video by giving us a like and a thumbs up and a comment, and by sharing this video,
Yeah.
and if it's getting big enough, then we're going to make part 2 of it and going to do another section of dry aging. Because this is a very expensive experiment. Hope you guys enjoyed this experiment.
I want to see in the comments which is your
They don't know.
longest dry age experience. But
Thank
I want to know about their experience. If the people had 20, tell us.
I think they will.
And now we're gonna close off.
Yeah, you go ahead.
No,
I'm
you
not
go
sure
ahead.
anymore. I don't dare anymore.
no.
I tried 3 times already. You go ahead.
All right. I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank all the patrons and the YouTube members. Hope to see you guys next time. Until then.
She didn't eat the fatty part. She just ate the meat. Until then, eet smakelijk.
Keep on grinning.
That's right.